guys, welcome back to a very chilly day out here. I don't know about you guys, but today we are actually, I checked the weather and it was like 27 degrees when I looked, so we're actually below freezing, and my little farmhouse is not particularly well insulated. So for the next week or so, you'll probably hear my heaters running in the background because it's a little chilly here. All right. In thinking about that, I decided that today I was going to do some things where I can run the air fryer and just get a little ambient heat going in this part of the house. And I had seen a recipe. Lots of people will stuff, spaghetti squash or do like zucchini boats. I've been waiting for Delicata, and they finally showed up on the Misfit Market list, and I ordered some of those. So I'm thrilled to have some Delicata. And I was looking at like how long, if I just cut it in half, how long do I cook a Delicata in the air fryer for? And I found a recipe, which I've put in the description box, which is for a keto stuffed Delicata boat. And they use like Italian sausage and almost do a lasagna take on it. They have some ricotta cheese and some marinara sauce. And I thought, oh, you know what? I don't have exactly that, but I do have some ground turkey. I do have some pasta sauce. I have some cottage cheese. I have some Asiago. And so I'm basically going to do the same sort of thing. I'm going to cut the Delicata in half and make little boats out of that. And then I'm going to do a take on a turkey lasagna in the Delicata. So that should be good. And then I have one little artichoke left, so I'm going to cook that in the Instant Pot. All the directions are in the description box. And I'm going to have that with some Chef Chamois lemon herb butter. And that will be brunch. And then knowing that the weather is going to be super chilly this next week, I want to go ahead and get some things prepped. Today is the end of my week, and so I want to get some things prepped to give me a leg up next week in case I'm hurting because the weather is so cold. So I think I'm going to do, I know I want to do a chicken salad. When I was in the fridge getting out some of these things, I was like, oh, yep, I've got some fresh pomegranate. And then when I was looking at that, I noticed that I had quite a bit of fruit. I have some red grapes, some muscadine grapes, some pomegranates, some berries. So I'm actually going to do a fruit salad. And then I need to have a look in my outside freezers and see what I want to bring in for the week. And then kind of go from there. So I'm just going to potter around here today. I am going to work on some of my painting in between things. But first, to get started, the artichokes take 20 minutes and then a natural release. So I'm going to go ahead and get this in the Instant Pot. While that is cooking, I'll prep all of this, and then I'll have some lunch and we'll go from there. Don't be scared of cooking artichokes. They're nice little veggies, and it's really simple if you have a pressure cooker, but you can absolutely do them on the stovetop or in the microwave as well. All you're going to do is trim off the bottom. I cut that quite close. Take off those last couple of leaves, and then you want to trim off the top. And that's just going to go on your trivet stand with a cup of water in the bottom. And then this will be a little different because I have a Chef IQ, but I can store my favorites, and I have artichokes already in there. So basically that's one fresh artichoke. Now it is 20 minutes under high pressure. Keep warm is turned off with a natural release, and then I just tell it go. Once I close the lid and press start, we'll be all set to go. So if you just have a normal Instant Pot, that's all you're doing. 20 minutes, high pressure, natural, well, you don't have a, yes, and natural release. All right, that is going. So I've went ahead and cut the ends off of my Delicata just a little bit and then split it in half. Now, if you're unfamiliar with Delicata, this is a squash with a really thin skin that you can actually eat the skin on. I quite like it. And you don't need to do much with it at all. So I scooped out the seeds, and if you have difficulty using a normal spoon, I tell you, these little cheap ice cream scoops, I've got this from the dollar store, then like the neck doesn't bend if you're applying some pressure, and it's pretty much exactly the right size. So you just put it in there and scrape the seeds out. It's very, very quick. Okay, the recipe that I looked at, which is from Culinary Lion, it says air fry 15 minutes, your halves like that, and then test with a fork. The other sites that I saw doing something similar, we're talking about roasting, oven roasting. Some of them were saying 30 or 40 minutes. Now, butternut, yes, that is a much longer roasting squash. I'm not sure that Delicata would need that long. So I'm going to try the Culinary Lion timing of 15 minutes at 400 degrees, and we'll see if they're done then. So you're going to roast them first, and then you're going to prep your filling, put that in, and then put it in there for about another 5 minutes or so just to melt the cheese. So let me get these in the air fryer. We're going to check on them in 15 minutes and see how they're going. And then I'll get the turkey browned and the filling started, grate up the Asiago. By the time all of that is done, the artichoke should just about be finished. Well, I did not think that through. And I've lived here for years, so I know this, but I just didn't think about it. So I cannot run a heater and an appliance at the same time without blowing a fuse. And I have a heater running in the bedroom. I had a heater running in the kitchen. And the Instant Pot, when it went from just building pressure to like actually cooking, it popped the fuse. So I've had to turn everything off other than the pot. And I can't run the air fryer and the pot at the same time. So we are going to do some other stuff in between. This is the squash ready to go. So they're just on my air fryer rack. I have an air fryer oven, and I have sprayed them with a little bit of avocado oil and then some salt and pepper. So these are just going to kind of hang out and sit here until the artichoke is finished, and then I can use the air fryer. So in between, I'm going to go ahead and get the filling started on the stove, since that doesn't tend to impact anything. Okay, so on the stove, I have the ground turkey, some red onion that I had already chopped up. I have a couple of cloves of garlic, some Italian seasoning, and some just Adobo complete seasoning. As you know, turkey doesn't have a whole lot of flavor on its own, so we're going to put a little flavor in there. I'm just going to cook this to being done, and then I'll combine that with I think I'll put the sauce in, probably in the pan. I'll leave the cottage cheese out and the normal cheese out, but I'll put the sauce in here and let it simmer together a little bit. All right, so that's browned up nicely, and I have turned the stove down to low, because since I can't use the air fryer until the Instant Pot is done, I'm just going to let this simmer a little bit. I'm going to start with 1/3 cup of sauce. I think, and I don't want it too terribly saucy, so I think I might have to go up to 1/2 cup, but I'm going to stir in this 1/3 cup and see what it looks like. Okay, so that's actually good. I don't want, in this particular case, I don't want it to be sort of soupy. I normally like a lot of sauce, but the Delicata doesn't have a very deep indentation in it, and so if you put something with a lot of soup in there, it's just going to pour out the sides. So I wanted this to be a bit thicker. So this is that mix that I had with 1/3 cup of the pasta sauce, which is going to work out beautifully. So I have basically turned this down to about 2.5. So that's going to be really low, and I'm just going to let that pretty much stay warm. Actually, I might even turn that down a bit lower. Or you know what? I think I'm going to turn it off for now, and then I'll turn it back on once the Delicata are done. All right, so the Chef IQ is on natural release, and that I can run something else when that's on there. So the air fryer is going. Does your guys' air fryer sound like a jet engine when it's on air fry? When it's on bake, it's perfectly quiet, but on air fry mode, you know, when it's forcing the air, it's quite loud. It's loud to me. Okay. Anyway, while that is going, because that's going to be at least 15 minutes, I'm going to go ahead and do chicken salad. And I messaged Sandy and asked her if she wanted me to make some for her as well, and she said yes. So I'm going to make enough for me to have some and for her to have some. Actually, I might... I think I'll do 2 cans of chicken, and then that will give me 2 servings and her 2 servings. So there's only 1 can here, but I'm going to add another one. All right. And my chicken salad varies by what I have in the fridge. And I went to go look for cucumbers, and apparently my fridge got colder than it should have, and my English cucumber that I had on the shelf, it was too close to the back, and it got almost frozen, you know, when they get really soft and soggy. So the only cucumbers that I have are some that I had put in the olive brine to sort of do a little pickle on. So I'm going to use those. Those will be fine. Then I bought a big bag. There were like 4 pomegranates for 99 cents in one of Kroger's produce clearance bags. And I went ahead and de-seeded all of those and just put them in a jar. So I have a ton of pomegranates. I have a big container of red grapes. Some capers, which have almost like they're sort of tart and olive briny. So if people put, say, a pickle relish into their chicken salad, tuna salad, egg salad, this is sort of my equivalent of that. I have some red onion that I chopped up, and I'm just gonna cut that down a little bit more, and I'll put some of that in there. This week I'm gonna put some pumpkin seeds in. These are all shelled, ready to go. And then I'm gonna use Greek yogurt and whole grain mustard. And then for my seasoning, I think I really like, this is the Lawry's Pollo Asado seasoning, which is just like a chicken seasoning, garlic, olive, peppers. It's a really nice flavor. Gives it enough salt that I don't need to add anything other than that seasoning in there. So that's what's going to go into this week's deluxe chicken salad. I'm going to grab that other can of chicken breast, and then we'll get everything together. Right, these are done. 15 minutes was right. And I moved them over into a little pan that I'm going to put in the air fryer on the rack, just in case the filling comes out, because it probably will. And so I've added 2 tablespoons of cottage cheese to each half. Then I divided the turkey mix, and then I've put some slices of Asiago cheese. There's an ounce between the 2 of them. Asiago is a nice strong cheese, so you don't have to have a whole lot to get a whole lot of flavor. So this is going to go back in the air fryer for another 5 minutes just to melt the cheese, and then they're done. Everything's ready. The artichoke has just been sitting in the pot. That is fine. The air fryer just beeped to tell me that it was finished, and I've got those just sitting in there. While that was working, I put together the chicken salad for this week. So in here we have 2 cans of chicken breast. And if you didn't see my last video with that, I'm using the Member Mark chicken breast because, ingredient-wise, if you are looking for something with no preservatives, this is just chicken breast, water, and salt at 90 calories for 3 ounces. And this is quite a big can. It's quite a tall can. So this is the 12.5 ounce one. Now, once I drained it, so that's 354 grams, and once I drained it, I got 207 grams out of one can and 196 grams out of the other can. So when I'm tracking the actual chicken breast, I'm using the gram weight of what I have after it was drained. I do keep the brine because it works really, really well in soups. It's just like a chicken stock or a chicken broth, and so I do keep that. The dogs get like the tuna water, but I keep the chicken water. All right, so I have the 2 cans of chicken. Then I tasted one of those cucumbers that were in the olive brine, and they took on a ton of that olive flavor, so I didn't want that to be too strong. So there's 2 tablespoons of the cucumber and 1 tablespoon of the capers, 3 tablespoons of the pumpkin seeds or pepitas, a 1/4 cup red onion, a 1/4 cup pomegranates, half a cup or 100 grams of grapes that I've cut into quarters, 2 tablespoons of mustard, half a teaspoon of the Pollo Asado seasoning, and then once I mix all of this up, I'll put the yogurt in there. I normally use about 1/4 cup of yogurt per can of chicken breast, so, but half a cup of yogurt seems quite a bit. So I'm going to start with the 1/4 cup that I generally use, and once I get it stirred, I'll be able to tell how much more I need, and then we'll go from there. So I'll put the final totals of everything, of course, will be on the recipe card, which will be attached at the end, as well as on the blog. So I did end up using half a cup of yogurt, and I tasted it, and it was not quite where I wanted it to be, so I added 2 tablespoons of lemon juice, which I had forgotten, and then 2 tablespoons of the homemade everything bagel seasoning that I make. And that fixed it. That was what it needed. So this is all done. I'm going to put this aside and I'll split this up for me and Sandy. And then this is the little delicata boat. And I'm going to have one for lunch, 1/2 of it, and the artichoke, and I can have the other half if I want it, but I'm kind of gauging my hunger, and I think this is going to be plenty. So I'm going to start with that, and then I'll keep the other half, and I'll have that with something for dinner if I don't finish it for lunch. Welcome back for dinner. All right, so I did end up eating only half of the squash boats. So I have that, and then I have a thin piece of top round. I had originally bought them to make schnitzel with them, but I'm just gonna cook that. I have a couple of purple potatoes that I'm gonna have with some Greek yogurt, and then I'm gonna have some asparagus with some pesto, and that will be dinner. Lunch has been had, cleaned up, well, most of the way, as I look at the chicken salad dishes in the sink. So I'm going to sit down and do some painting. So if you saw my video yesterday, I had painted some figures. These are like, they're basically a board game figure. And I had painted somebody's interested in buying this set, and there were models that I hadn't painted, and he wants me to finish them. So these I painted several years ago before I stopped painting, and I now need to try and get as close as I can to mimicking that. And so I have these guys, which will be painted like that, and then these two, let me move them over. I'll put the card art in. They're a different set of blue. So I'm going to try basically doing some mixing to try and get close to those colors. And then I've pulled out the colors for like the bone on the jaw. I have some standard black and white. I have some color for the base of the eye. And then like his tongue is pink with a bit of a purple tone to it. So I have some pink with some purple ink. And basically I am going to try and get the base colors on all of these guys done. And then I'll stop and think about dinner. All right. So I'm actually kind of excited to share this part with you. And, you know, if you're not interested in the painting part, I'm not going to be really long, but you can certainly skip forward. But I wanted to show you. So this one and this one are the ones that I finished a couple of years ago before I stopped painting. And this, especially the teal, it was a custom color paint that I mixed using different paints than I have now. And I needed to match that so that I could continue the rest of the set in a very similar way. And I have to say, that's a pretty darn close match. Now, this is only one layer. It's not finished at all. This is what's called base coating, which is just where you put down the very beginning of the color. But I wanted to see if I could get it, how close I could get in using this different set of paints that I have. And so I have to say, that's pretty darn close for me guessing what was going on there. And then I got some base color done on these guys, and I had some of the color that I was using to do the base for the eyes. I had some of that left, and so I went through and put that where it belonged on these guys. But this is what I've done. I'm very happy with that color match, and I'll show you what they look like when they're done. Alrighty, let's recap. So, Delicata Squash boats. Good, but I will say that in my particular air fryer oven, anyway, I disagree with Culinary Lion's 15-minute at 400 degrees. Like I said, in some of the other ones, I saw roasting in the oven for 30 or 40 minutes. At 15 minutes, it was definitely fork tender, but when I sort of took it out to eat it, it was firmer, and I like firm squash. It was firmer than I probably would have wanted. So I think what I would do is, because I have some more, I think what I would do is probably 375 for like 25 minutes. Just so it cooks a little bit longer, and I don't want to overcook it, so turn that temp down just a little bit. That's probably what I would try next time. Okay, the artichoke, good as always. And let's see, steak I had with some steak sauce, some Simple Truth organic steak sauce, and the potatoes with some Greek yogurt. Then I had some asparagus with the pesto, and a juice box to take my meds. So here is where I have ended up for the day, and then I'll tell you about the week. So I am 11 over for the day. I am 17 over on protein. Carbs and fats are under, and my steps are under, which I'm not surprised. Between it being super cold and me hurting a bit, I did some painting today, and I haven't done too much movement, so I knew the steps were going to be like that. Okay, so basically my goal for the week was to take the normal 1450 calories, and if you multiply that by 7, 10,150. So having days that were lower and higher is fine, as long as by the end of the week I still was at like 10,150. I haven't done the final math, but I think that in order to meet that goal, I needed to have eaten 1,500 and some calories today, which I didn't, because I only had, I can see 1,461 was my total. So I'm probably somewhere between, let's say 75 and to 125 calories off the total for the week, which is fine. You know, I'm not trying to hit it bang on the nose, and I feel like I got pretty close. I did have, you can see Monday and Friday were 2 lower days. I only ate once on each of those days. I did go over on the Thursday and just a little tiny bit over today. I didn't want anything else after dinner, and so yeah, I am just going to call this done for the end of the week, and then we will see what happens tomorrow.